This is Wednesday, January 4th, and this is Don Coleman. I'm Ken Klink, pastor, piano player. Very simple.
Yes.
We're glad to see you. My goodness, so much has gone on.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
We are 4 days.
Well, this is the 4th.
So we're 4 days into a new year.
4 days in 2023.
This is the future.
It was the future.
It's 23 years since 2000.
Is that amazing?
Does that make you feel
And
old?
we're all still here. All the computers are running. All the computers are running. We're on Facebook.
Did I ever tell you what I was doing?
No.
When the clock went from
I'm
9.
sure you were paranoid.
9.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was
I'm sure
super
you were.
paranoid. I got on a plane.
Oh boy, what a risk taker. It didn't fall out of the sky?
3 days before that, 4 days before that, flew across the country. Actually flew from one country to another. Flew from Toronto, Canada, all the way to Los Angeles, California.
Oh, my.
And I asked a pretty young lady to marry me on December 29th of 1999. And
24 years ago.
We spent New Year's out visiting her family. I was not really concerned in the least.
She was going to say yes or no? Oh, you weren't concerned about
I wasn't concerned about what was it again? It was called the Y2K.
Y2K, yeah.
Yes. You know why I wasn't concerned?
Because you were more concerned with Bridget saying yes.
No. I was pretty certain. I was pretty certain she was going to say yes.
Did you? Were you sure?
Yeah.
Come on, you don't always.
I had set it up very well.
Well, didn't you do something on the beach?
That's exactly where I asked her. I asked her to marry me on the beach. At sunset. I wrote it in the sand.
Oh, of course you did.
So
did you have?
I was so confident I didn't even put a question mark on it. That was more of a mistake than it was. But I guess maybe it spoke to something inside of me.
You sure that you didn't put "You will marry me"?
No. It says, "Will you marry me?" Yeah, no question mark though. But no, the reason I was not concerned about Y2K is as a, let's see how old I would have been.
Young.
21?
Well, you're 83? 78.
I guess I was a 21-year-old. Yeah, as a 21-year-old.
Yeah, 78, yeah.
I knew for certain that there was a whole lot of people with a whole lot more to lose than I did. And if they were not panicking, then
I know, it was all a bunch of
they had to figure it out. I mean, there were some real issues, but yeah.
Well, of course there were, but some computers were just, I mean, that was in the age of, in every 2 weeks you had to go upgrade your equipment because everything.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Discs and stuff. I still remember when I was, I'm sorry, this is going to make you feel old, but when I was like in kindergarten, we had computers. I know you were still using an abacus, but
a what?
Abacus. Do you remember that?
We talked about that before. Is that something with strings and beads?
Maybe, sure, yeah. Anyway, so but I remember.
You understand? I remember calculators coming to fruition. A calculator.
You mean there wasn't a calculator before?
No, I know, small enough that you could hold it in your hand.
Yes, okay. Before, so what's the first calculator you remember?
Oh, a big. It wasn't a. It was more of an adding machine.
Yeah. with a crank.
Yes. That was. Well, if you want to call that a calculator, and then in school, of course, the calculators came out.
Yeah, you had it in your hand.
The wealthier kids got them right away.
Yeah,
and then they had to decide whether or not you could have it in school, and you couldn't. Because we were also.
You could write hello on it on the screen. Is that
you could, and you could put 7734, and it meant hell.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah.
The fact that you remember what numbers those, I have to think in my head. Wait, what's the letters?
7734, yeah.
And then it will be 77340
hello.
to get hello. Yes,
you're right. Now, but school ruled
no calculators.
No calculators because we learned is something called a slide rule.
You used a slide rule. I've heard of those things.
You've heard of them?
I've heard of those things.
You've never held one in your hand? That's terrible.
Was it actually a roll. Was there a roller?
No,
to
it was a slide rule. It had two stationary and a thing that moved in the middle.
I don't remember.
Oh, you would have loved that.
They're called. Aren't they also like police batons?
No, it was just a plastic thing.
But it slides in and out, right?
Just part of it slid.
You can use it as a weapon. I would think there'd be more issues
It was
with
plastic,
that.
my man.
Oh,
It wasn't
okay.
metal.
All right. Hey.
It wasn't electric. It was.
Yeah.
You drove
Well,
it.
those batons, you know,
Well, I
those are
have
not
one in my
electric.
car.
You do you really?
Oh yeah. You never know.
Places that you go.
Well, here I am. Mm-hmm. I mean, I should have came in armed today.
Yeah.
Just armed.
Just armed. Yeah.
Yeah, because you never know who you're going to run into.
You're always armed.
Yes, I am. Yes. I have the armor on.
There you go. There you go.
I always, every morning, every day.
So a lot's happened. So we didn't meet at all. I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. I haven't seen you.
Well, we've seen each other. Gosh.
No, that's like, it's funny because you ever see, any partner, news anchors or, they're not
whatever.
news, but, whatever, or radio, there's always an assumption that they've got like a personal relationship behind the scenes.
Well, we do.
Not all of them do. I've listened to people over that, especially radio.
No thanks to him.
No,
we have a personal.
If it wasn't for him, we would have no personal relationship.
Exactly.
So if we're Mike and Mike, you're the former football player. I'm the one who's looking for the next gig.
Well, last video.
I have no idea what they're saying.
No, I have no idea.
No.
The last video, you were Lucy and I was Charlie Brown, and I didn't get till I rewatched the video that the doctor is in for a nickel.
You didn't get that? Yes.
I was too slow. I was too slow. I didn't.
Bria put on the Great Charlie Brown movie.
Yeah,
it's not called the Great. Anyway, and there's a line in there where Lucy is like, "Oh, I love a nickel." And she gets all excited about it. But the Christmas one is Sally, who in her Christmas list is like 10s and 20s.
Oh.
10s, I love, it's hilarious.
Well.
Even my sister.
Yeah.
It's gone commercial.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
But, it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the things that I've been encountering recently, and I'm going to say.
And you say this week or the last couple weeks?
It has come to the forefront in the last several days in particular. You know how things,
Well, I know you were asking me questions that were of but I'm just saying you were, go ahead.
I contend that one of the ways that we hear God speaking is when a lot of things, you hear the same thing or similar things, it's like it resonates.
I'll
it's like
tell
a chord.
I'm not surprised that you're hearing that. We're talking about people being down.
Yeah. Talking about mental health and depression.
My personal thought on that, I was sitting at the table watching TV. Mm-hmm. I guess it was maybe Monday night. Yeah. And it just was an overwhelming sense of isolation. And it passes because I'm a pro at living alone. I've done it a long time.
Yeah.
And you know that it's going to pass. Mm-hmm. But it does come through, especially if you're alone at home, when you have those hours to fill. And Perry Mason doesn't do it.
Perry Mason does not. Yeah. So I heard yesterday about someone else in our congregation who had basically been home and not getting out for 3 weeks. The same type of thing. They live alone. Mm-hmm. They didn't used to. They haven't lived alone all their life, but they are, in the age and stage that you are. So, generally
aging stage.
Age and stage. Not aging stage, age and stage.
Okay.
So similar circumstances to you. Yeah. And that they admitted to a friend of theirs that they were experiencing some pretty significant depression. And
this is the time of year for it.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if you've got a family and you've got events, it can be filled up.
It
can be wall to wall things. If you don't, we were talking about this even on Christmas Eve, or thereabouts. You know, you go home to Perry Mason. Right? I mean,
I go home to silence.
Yeah.
I go home to silence.
Yeah, I have to get out of the house to get silence.
Right.
And it's just a function of what life is like.
Right. I visit you, and I'm sure you wonder, why am I happy in the midst of the commotion?
No, I know.
Okay.
You're in my presence. That's fine.
Okay.
But
I mean,
you're in my presence. That's why you're happy. I understand. You missed that the first time I said it.
In your presence.
In my presence.
You know what? You're right, buddy.
Yes.
You are right. What do you got on your socks today?
They're dogs.
They're poodles. He's got poodles.
No. I think
I think
they're.
That's a standard poodle, right
not
there.
a chance. Look at that. Is that a standard poodle?
Yeah.
No, that's not. I don't know what kind of standard poodle
Maybe
has
a yellow
that underneath
lab.
there. There we go. That's more like it.
I don't know.
It's actually a blue lab. Which is perfect for this because
you see the animals I have today.
Yes. Yeah. They're barking. But
anyway,
blue is kind
blue.
of a state of mind, a state of feeling, and it's not. I think part of it has to do with the lack of family. I got to tell you, I was a little bit disappointed, miffed, kind of all those kind of things when the weather happened. The storm happened.
I know.
And we would have had 4 family members here.
I know
leading
that
up to
I know.
Christmas. It was disappointing. It was.
I know it was. It was written all over your face.
And then some others were unable to come for some other reasons. So this season, I think there's a lot of things. There is the holidays and the remembrance of that empty seat at the table.
That and right, and the gray skies that just.
That's another thing. Yeah, just the weather.
I mean, it's been great for washing your car, but the gray skies every other way is just
horrible.
Terrible.
I mean,
terrible. I mean,
again, I would much rather.
I mean, you talk about depression. There's seasonal affect disorder.
Yep.
I mean, and whether somebody said, or whether a doctor's ever said, well, you have sad, you can't help but be sad in that. All these days in a row.
Yeah. You don't see the sun?
Yeah, I mean, the sun was here. What day was it, Al? Sunday?
The sun was out?
Yeah. Off-screen producer Al's here today, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah. How did you respond to those people that talked to you about their feelings in these last several days? How did you respond? What was your response beside understanding?
I mean, I think that's a lot of it. Right.
It is.
I mean, it's so one of the I would say the not helpful things is to try and talk someone out of the way they're feeling.
Oh, you can't.
They
have to come to a realization.
Do this, do that. That's not. So the best thing I think to do is, and it's the hardest thing,
is
to simply be with someone in that state.
Another person depressed?
Yeah. So role playing here. If you say I'm depressed,
you're going to call me over for dinner?
Maybe.
I'm depressed.
Yeah. I don't believe it. But the be so not fixing it, right? Oh, Kenton, you know what you need to do? You need to do this, that, and the other thing.
No, but that person who is depressed can also work themselves rather than going down that spiral hole of depression, can also say to themselves and remember to themselves that somebody always has it worse. Well, you may be somebody always has it.
You think
worse.
that's? I don't know. I mean,
that works for me.
Does that work for you? Okay.
Oh, that works.
I don't know. I wouldn't.
Especially when it hits home that somebody is sick or somebody is suffering or somebody's lost their job. I think to myself, and I thought
someone has it worse.
I'm not bleeding. I'm not bleeding.
Yeah.
And nobody's paying me to dig a ditch.
Perspective, can be helpful, but it's hard. But it's hard when what you're feeling feels like something absolutely.
It feels like tears.
It feels
tears.
Or worse.
Yes.
So something else. So another thing that is speaking the same in the same direction is the events of Monday night. So Monday night. I know that you don't pay attention as much, but so Monday night I was primed to watch maybe the biggest football game of the year to that point in the NFL.
I didn't know that.
It was definitely the biggest Monday Night Football game. It was the last Monday Night Football game of the year. These were two teams that were basically playing for the best record in the conference. It was Buffalo and Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, being a Bengals fan, it's a big deal. So I was, had it on, right? Game starts like gangbusters, as a Bengals fan.
Called you.
They drove down the field. They score a touchdown. Buffalo drives down the field, doesn't score a touchdown, score a field goal. So you're already, as a Bengals fan, this is good. Then the Bengals march down the field again, and they get, I can't remember. I think they got into Buffalo territory.
And long story short.
No. Let me.
Play by play.
This is it. This is it.
Okay.
No, this is it. So pass completed over the middle. The receiver's running.
I actually saw that.
And he's about to be tackled, and he braces himself for the tackle. Shoulder into the chest of the defender. Go down, get up, and then what you don't, so the camera, so when you're watching it, camera cuts away because it was a tackle and it was a complete play. And they move on to the next one. And then all of a sudden the camera goes back and there's a guy down. You don't know who it is.
No.
And we're watching it live. And you don't know who's down. It's a Buffalo player. But I immediately see, and I've seen enough football games, been played enough, there's two different responses to a player down.
Okay.
One is, you check with them, where does it hurt? Medical staff come out and they're slowly going over something. You blew out your ACL, you tear your Achilles, you just broke your shoulder, whatever. There's lots of these different injuries, and they got to assess things, and so it's a slow process, right? They're making sure they're safe.
Right, I've seen that. Yeah.
And then there's another response,
which is
quick. Heads start moving, people start calling. It is a very different response, and 5 seconds, not even 2 seconds into that, I could see it, and I tell Bridget and Brennan are watching it with me. I said something's wrong. Something's not good.
Oh,
you could tell immediately.
Really?
And so for those that aren't aware, the Buffalo defender turns out had a heart attack in the middle of the play. They right after the play, you actually see it afterwards. They replay the play. Everything looks fine. He gets up from the tackle. And like one boom, he stumbles and falls down. And I don't know the medical stuff enough, but they performed CPR on the field.
Right there.
9-10 minutes before he is So what is striking is the responses, his teammates. Yep. And they end up showing them, over the course of, we're watching this for an hour and a half.
I was surprised they left it on, to tell you the truth.
They had nothing else to do.
Well, I was surprised about ABC just leaving it on.
ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, it's being simulcast by 3 different stations at the same time.
I looked and I thought they're all just sitting there.
But these players who are paid handsomely, sure, most of them, not all of them, paid handsomely, and are warriors, and they put their bodies on the line for the sport. Do. And you see some of them in tears. Mm-hmm. You see them broken up because what they've just witnessed, and as viewers, you don't know what they have just witnessed, but they have witnessed someone go into cardiac arrest and medical terms died in front of them. Mm-hmm. And all happening live for them. The station's cutting away.
Those are young guys too.
Oh yeah.
They're young guys. They don't have
35 years old. You're an old man in professional sports.
They don't have much experience in dealing with a situation.
Well, how many times has that happened with you? How many? I have seen lots of things. I have not witnessed someone doing chest compressions on another person in front of me.
No, only my mom.
I've been whisked out of the hospital room, and I have, seen. I have never been like that. And I'll tell you, at a distance, It's one thing, and I've heard some things now. Some of the people that were there witnessing it, some of them relaying some of the things they actually saw, even from the booth, them watching chest compressions on someone, and it's amazing because this is a shared traumatic event,
right?
And the ripple effects that are going out from it, and you think, oh, it's a game.
Well, not then, it isn't anymore.
Exactly. And I think about the shared traumatic experiences that we as a, say, a community and as a country and as a culture and a world have experienced over the past, I'm going to say 20 years. There's a lot of them. And they build up and they create trauma in us that, you can say, and I'll tell you, some of the moments last night I was kind of like, well, you know what? What are the ramifications in the sports, in the game?
Right.
Right? And part of that is like, that is one way actually that we deal with trauma. We don't deal with it.
Oh, yeah.
We compartmentalize it and we push it aside and we deal with all this other stuff.
Yep. Well, you heard my response.
I did.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens in us, whether we recognize it or not, that is going to come out somewhere, somehow. And it's going to cause something in us if we don't deal with it in the moment.
I agree. And what happened in our lives in these last 2.5 years,
exactly,
going on 3 years with COVID, it's the same thing. And we are still huddled on the ground around that patient. Okay, we are still as a community, as a faith community, we are still huddled around that patient, waiting for it all to be all right. Or some news about it.
That's a good
analogy. But I think that's true. We talk about church attendance, and I think that we say come to church, don't stay home. I think a lot of people are still down on their knees in that huddle.
I just talked to somebody on, maybe it was yesterday. The days flow together, but it might have been yesterday, who said, "Oh yeah, we watch, we see all the time. We know we need to get back." And I said, "Hey, I missed you. I missed you." And as it wasn't shame. It's not like you should be here. No, miss you. Miss seeing you. Miss being, And you know what? We had good attendance on Christmas Eve.
Great, yeah. I mean, compared to
Christmas Day. There were more people here than I expected.
Even New Year's Day.
As many. New Year's Day was
He says to me, who's going to be here on New Year's Day?
No, I said about Christmas Day.
Yeah, and I said old people.
Yeah. There was more than just old people anyway.
I was
not to disparage old people.
I'm not.
Man.
No, don't disparage old people. I'm on this one myself. I said almost.
Sure.
Okay? Almost. But it's just, we really have to pick ourselves up. We have to grab our own bootstraps.
Yeah,
we have to.
So let me.
We have to.
So the first step, though.
Go ahead.
The first step is recognizing it.
Yeah.
Because it is one reaction to trauma of any kind, whether it be something that happens directly to us or something that happens around us that we witness and therefore experience trauma. The first thing is to recognize it and name it and put our finger on it. I experienced this, or I witnessed this, and I'm feeling this. If you don't do that, you cannot move forward.
I'll tell you a personal story.
Go ahead.
I have a friend, a married friend, a woman who her family lived with her father, and one day they sat down to eat, and her father died. His head went right into the bowl of soup on the dining room table and was dead. And maybe like 6 weeks later, my friend called me up. She said, I need to talk to somebody. So I invited her over, and we sat down and talked. And she was unhappy with her husband, and she couldn't understand why, after all these years, whether he was smoking or drinking his strohs or whatever, why after all these years, these things that he's always done are bugging her so much. She couldn't understand why she was so touchy.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, honey, you watched your father die at the dining room table. His face went in the soup. I said, you're still living with that.
Yeah.
I said, that's why you're on pins and needles. I said, you have to take a breath and give yourself a break.
being able to name it. And you say, okay, I'm experiencing these feelings, and it in large part is due to this event or this experience. That is the first step. Being able. And then the thing is that we need to do is, I think maybe not pick ourselves up, but reach out. Right? That's the.
Well, you have to.
Hey, just like your friend said. Hey, Kenton.
She knew who to call. Yeah, she knew who to call, and
sometimes, and that's the problem, is sometimes we call the wrong people.
Well, yeah,
right? We call the wrong people, and they give us crappy advice.
Well, yeah,
or they don't.
Well, if you don't have,
or
a
they
good
give
listener,
us advice.
If you don't have a good listener in your life,
yeah,
you are surely missing something.
Yeah,
you need a good listener.
Yeah,
someone who'll just say.
And the other thing is too is that, I mean, friends are friends and great, and family and people that can listen, but you know what? The other part of it is that just like when you tear your Achilles or you break your arm, you don't go to your friend and commiserate, right?
No.
You go to flipping doctor.
Yeah.
And you get someone to help you.
Yeah.
You get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
You don't just sit on your couch and cry with your family. That's part of it. It's part of the. But you go to some, and that's one thing that, and some people don't. Some people bemoan it, and it's ridiculous.
Well, you
go to a doctor.
What's the main scripture? Because I know where you're working this around to.
Yeah.
We need to go to.
No.
But wait, what's the main scripture though? My hope is in
the Lord. Yeah.
My hope is in the Lord.
Yeah. But here's where some people misunderstand that. It's like, well, I can just read my scripture and pray.
No, that's not enough.
It's not the right process. It would be the same thing as saying, God will supply all my needs, so therefore I can go out into the wilderness and there will be manna from heaven and water, and that is not how God works.
Right.
Maybe in a unique situation, sure, but on the whole, God puts people in our path that help us. And it's the story, it's the story of the man in the flood, right? Man, water starts to rise and he prays, God save me. And his neighbor knocks on his door and says, hey, come with me now. The water's up to my knees. I know, I'll help you get out. He says, no, I'm praying. Water gets higher, gets up to his second floor window, and he's praying, and somebody comes by in a boat. Says, hey, hop in, I'll save you. He says, no, I'm praying God's going to save me. Water gets so high, he has to get up on his roof. Helicopter comes by. Here, grab a ladder. He says, no, God's going to save me. He drowns. He goes to heaven.
He got saved.
God said, what happened? He says, what? And he says, what happened with you? I've been praying all this time. God said, I sent your neighbor. I sent your friend. I sent the helicopter to save you.
Yep.
And what we need to do is not turn our nose up at the help that is available to us.
You're right.
And engage with it.
You're right.
Call the doctor.
Yep.
Make an appointment with a therapist.
Yeah.
These people are there to help.
The problem with that response is that sometimes you have to wait so long to talk about your feelings that by the time you get there, those feelings are gone, or they're worse than they were before. But you understand what I'm saying? Is that okay? You call, so I'm depressed. I'll call my psychiatrist, but she can't see me until February 3rd.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, and that's
helpful.
That's a process question.
It is, but it's also helpful that you maintain for yourself a fuller life.
Oh yeah. But the two aren't mutually exclusive.
No,
that's like saying, well, I shouldn't bother to see the doctor because they can't get me in for 3 weeks.
Well,
I'm not going to bother to get my knee replaced because it's a 6-month process to wait. Avail yourself of all the tools, and that includes that. So, if you're in depression, to stick your nose up at the therapist because it's going to take a while to get in. No.
Or just you don't like the word therapist.
Or you don't like the word therapist, honey. There are people in the past who didn't like doctors. They're all dead now You know,
Yeah.
go see a doctor when you need one, whether it's for your heart, whether it's for your knee, or whether it's for your
head,
for your heart. You know, your heart.
Well, that's your soul.
Exactly. But the other thing is, so I honestly I think there's three things that I really want to. The first thing is that we as individuals need to acknowledge what we're feeling, what we're going through, and it's all different. But we need to, if we ignore it, if we stuff it down, if we pretend it's not happening, if we ignore our feelings, that will only end up causing more trauma and more hurt to us and people around us in time. The second thing is we need to reach out, and it's a both and. It's a friend reach out, and it's a professional reach out.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's like, oh, it's not that bad. Well, you know what? You know, maybe it's the start of something. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be in a place where it's been 3 weeks, it's been 6 months.
But on the other hand, go ahead. What's your third?
The third thing is for everybody else. So those are the two things for what we're experiencing. But everybody else, and there's some people who say, actually, no, I'm feeling good. I don't care about football. You know, anytime I talk about football, I know there's people in my life like you. I don't watch football. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine. Or I've got family and it's been great. I'm not dealing with any health issues. I'm actually feeling tremendous joy. That's awesome. For everybody else, it's for us to pay attention and to be listening and to recognize the face of the person next to you. You said, oh, you're experiencing some stuff over Christmas, Don. To be able to see that in someone else, and to be the proactive person that engages.
Well, when I looked at you on Christmas Eve, and I told your mother when I did see her last week that you were in a funk on Christmas Eve, especially at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I could see it in your face, and I knew it was because your family didn't get to be here, and you couldn't look over there and see your mom and dad where they usually are on Christmas Eve. And there you go. Good job, Dawn. That's it. Step on some more wires. You're doing great so far. Okay?
Go ahead. Keep going.
Good?
Keep going.
Okay. But you're right. But this time of year, plus the grayness, number one. Number two, people who normally are jolly, sometimes after Christmas and New Year's, have a down week because there's nothing to look forward to.
Yeah. There's lots of different reasons.
Yeah. Whether your reason is you're alone, you have nothing to look forward to. These are the dog months of winter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're longer ones. But see, I'm one who doesn't mind it getting dark at 5 o'clock. See, I don't mind that. It makes the evening longer.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it being dark at 5 o'clock because my soft spot in the summertime is that the day is too long. I can't keep it filled.
Yeah.
The day is too long, which is a lot of the reason why I nap.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
The reason why I nap is to escape the time.
There's lots of different ways that we...
Profound.
There's lots of different ways that we manage or cope with our... Yeah.
Yeah, our situations. And our situations are in a constant state of flux.
Sure.
And for some people, even when we talk about grief, look, we are more than willing to say to anybody, you can grieve for years.
You may grieve for years.
You may grieve for years. And for me, to come around this time of year, I grieve over a certain thing that happened. But I remember it. Yeah. The grief is less all the time, but I remember that at this time and at that year, what I was doing.
And I think actually memory helps with the grief.
It does.
Because when feelings come over us that we can't articulate, it's very difficult. But if you can say, that's right, this significant event happened in my life, and it's around this time, and my body, and I think our body or our subconscious often remembers things that our conscious mind is not paying attention to.
that maybe were traumas of the past.
Yeah. And I don't mean like things that happened to us that we don't know about.
No.
Like I was a child and I got beat up and I got covered up. No. I just mean like,
in November.
My dad died in,
But look at us as a nation in November. We still remember JFK.
Yeah.
Okay, we still do that, and it's 70 years later, and we still do that. Mm-hmm. So, it's not surprising that as an individual that happens. I think, though, also, what if that happens to somebody with the situations that we've been talking about, the depression or the feeling blue situations? What if they don't know God? What if they don't know what we know? Mm-hmm. What if they don't know the hope that's in the Lord? What if they don't know the words in that book? What if they don't know what living a Christian life has to offer and all the benefits that they can have, personal benefits?
Well, let me say two things. One, for someone who is a believer and a follower of Jesus, when you're experiencing depression, that hope can seem like a pinprick or less in a vast black night sky.
You're right.
And it can be really cheap for us who are not experiencing it to just if you just
But
I'm saying I know. So but the other thing is this: for those that are not followers of Christ, for those that do not know and experience the hope, and here's what I would say is, God still knows them.
Oh, absolutely, He does.
And
we can say to that person, "Do you go to church? Besides, have you been to the doctor? Did you talk to anybody?"
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I would say is that those words are not nearly as valuable as us living out the presence of Christ in their midst.
But
do you go to church?
You and I know to trust in the Lord completely. You and I know that.
Yeah, but does that mean that we don't experience
that?
Well,
it depends on how you walk with God and how your walk is in your life.
Yeah, but if you
said to me before, the word armor came up, and I said to you, I put the armor on every day, and I do. I mean, in my habits of thinking in the morning is that, and when I'm going out, I always put the armor on because you don't know what is going to come at you from a place you're not expecting it at all. And especially for me because I'm such a creature of habit. But the armor is always on. And I'm not talking about a wall that I put up between myself and somebody else. I'm talking upon putting my armor on and my full trust from my full heart into the Lord. I think that even if you have times like I do where I'm down or I get a little depressed, I know in the back of my mind that God is still with me. But I'm just a human experiencing feelings. I know that. I know the assurance, the blessed assurance of that is far surpasses anything else because we know that God is with us. Emmanuel, we know that God is with us.
And we know it. And we know it because we've experienced.
Right.
And I think so
the goodness of God. We have experienced the goodness of God.
And so what I would so going back to your question, what I would say is for those that don't know, my job would not be words to tell them what they don't know. It would not be to convince them.
To help them move along.
Well, no. It would just be to help them experience it. So to be the hands and feet, to be the presence of Christ in their midst, and that hoping that in that space
they come
that they are experiencing Christ. You think about what is Jesus, the parable. It's not even really a parable, but they come to God at the end, and they say, when did we witness you thirsty or hungry, or when did we witness you in prison? And he says, well, when you did it to them. That was me in that space, in that place. And
That's
for
true.
us, that is our call.
At this, yes, you're right.
That is our. So if you're in depression, or if you're just feeling down or blue, whatever, my job is to come near you.
I know, and you do it all the time.
And to care for you.
And you do that, and I do it for you all the time.
And to love you, and to let you know.
I know that.
By my actions.
What do I always say?
You are loved.
What do I always say to you? What do I say to most people that I know at the end? Who loves you?
Get away from me, you filthy animal.
No. I ended with who loves you.
Yeah, of course.
And and that's just. I have one of our friends that will say God does, and so do you, Kenton. She feels guilty about saying.
She feels guilty about saying that you love her.
Yeah. But it is that time of the year, and we need to keep people. And we're not talking about a general population of people, whether you're old, young, rich, poor. You go through feelings that you might not understand.
Yeah.
And those feelings change as you age too.
I'm sure.
Age brings a little more insolence, but on the other side of the coin, you're also weaker to deal with what does get through.
Yeah.
I have to tell you one other thing. This conversation is a good one, but the electrician's working outside.
Yes.
He's putting heat into the closet. I call it the closet.
Food pantry, yeah.
Yeah, I call it the closet.
Yeah.
In joking terms, in 1993, that was a $150,000 closet. But anyway, they had to have it. Anyway, they're putting the electric in, and it's Slum Electric. And I said, "You guys are everywhere." And Lum turned around and said to me, "Ken, I watch every week."
Wow.
He said, "You be nice." He said to me, "You be nice on your video today." I said, "How do you know?"
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, to be clear, Lum's Electric, not Slum Electric. The way you said it, I just wanted to make sure that nobody thought.
They know it's Lum Electric.
Actually, Lum's. Did you know it's a nickname?
Yeah, his name is Jimmy Mastrangelo. I know.
Yeah.
I call him Jim.
Took me a couple years to
I call him Jim.
find that. So,
his son's out there with him.
I don't know where we've all got. I've got a bail in a few minutes.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Here he is again, and this is I thought and why you're not king anymore.
I wanted to end. I am still.
You got to end on a good note.
I wanted to end with the three words, and then if you wanted to play a little bit, I'm not going to force you. Well, but it's probably end up being long. But the three things that I really wanted to make sure came through was one, recognizing, because if we're feeling something, being able to come to terms and just recognize it. Hey, I'm feeling sad, or whatever it is, The second thing is taking the brave, tough step of reaching out, and maybe the first reach out is just to a friend. It's just to say, hey, I'm not feeling great. Maybe you can't put words to it like I'm experiencing depression. I had somebody tell me the other day. I had been in contact with this person for a while, and I was frustrated with them. And I was finally they said, you know what? I just realized that I am experiencing depression, and it's been happening for longer than I realized. They related it to another time in their life, like a decade earlier, and they said that. So being able to reach out and say it to someone else. But then the third thing is for the rest of us.
Like you said before, to be the hands and the feet,
and to be paying attention. And sometimes it's both. Sometimes we're not, we're actually not. Oh, I'm filled with joy and happy and everything's good. We can be both. I'm not happy right now. I'm experiencing
trauma, whatever
You know
it is,
what song?
and I'm still reaching out.
I know, and
to
not to
someone
make
else.
light of this whole conversation, but do you know what song just came through my head?
What?
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Well, you know what? That is a symptom
I know
of
it.
undealt with trauma,
Isn't
right?
that funny?
Yeah. I'm looking for love in all, and it can
And
be
all the wrong faces, too.
Yeah.
And
it can be very innocuous.
Oh,
You know, I'm
he goes with the
scrolling.
$50 word
Thank you.
again.
I'm scrolling my news feed at 1 a.m. because
Which
I
is
don't.
me.
Yeah, I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want to whatever. I'm looking for connection, and I'm just scrolling. And what I really need to do,
you stop.
well, stop. I need to reach out to a friend,
A real person.
and have a connection.
And do you know, that also brings another point that I thought of earlier in the conversation, is technology. I don't think that we are emotionally, as a species, emotionally or mentally equipped to be bombarded with the amount of information that we can let ourselves be bombarded with today.
Funny enough.
We're just not. And here's the thing. Here's the thing scary about that is technology doesn't need people anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Technology begets technology.
Well, there's going to be a little word about that Sunday.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, good.
So
because it's
you
just-
can listen for that.
But you know, it's true. It's that we look at everything. We know everything that's going on thanks to our phone or our computer or our iPad or even just, God forbid, the television.
But we're not emotionally capable of handling
No,
it.
we're not.
It's like what happened on Monday night.
Exactly.
We witnessed it, but we're not emotionally capable to deal with it because just like 9/11 or all the other tragic events that got beamed into our house, I'll tell you, maybe
The
this
mass
is a way
shootings,
as a way to wrap up because we do have. But I found myself just watching.
Well, sure.
Because it was on. If I had no access to that, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be downloading a traumatic event into my life.
Somebody else's.
20 years ago,
No, you wouldn't have.
no. 20 years ago was the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
20 years ago, I'm sitting there in front of the television in Los Angeles, California, as I witness a traumatic event happening, and I find myself unable or unwilling to remove myself from that because it's just being.
Oh yeah. Do you know what did that for me? The bad earthquake in LA.
Sure, yeah.
When the bridge collapsed and all that.
Yeah, I was
my.
watching television. It was the World Series.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and actually, I went to LA the following year.
Okay.
And drove through that.
I'm sorry, which
area.
LA or San Francisco? San Francisco was 88.
sorry.
Yeah, you were talking about you went to San
Yes,
Francisco.
San Francisco
Yeah.
the following year,
Yeah.
and drove through that part.
Yep.
LA, I went through after the riots, and can't we all just get along? I went through that part also, but no, I was San Francisco after that, and I carried that because we all watched it happen so many times. Just think if that happened today with everybody with a camera in their pocket. The different things that we could see. Also, with the gentleman laying on the field on Monday, how many camera angles watched that poor man
Thank
have a heart
goodness
attack?
there was some level of
Control
yeah.
and respect.
Yep.
And
That
thank
is something.
goodness.
And out of this traumatic event, what's been very encouraging to see is the way the two fan bases of these teams have interacted
Yes.
with each other. I mean, they've raised over $4 million.
I saw that, $5 million.
$5 million.
Yeah,
wow.
on his GoFundMe.
Yeah.
He had started that for something else.
Oh, that's what it's not for him.
No.
Yeah, it's to like
school?
Toys for Tots.
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Yeah. So hey, it's been good. Do you want to play a little something?
Well, of course I want to play
All right.
a little
something, just a little something.
That's just a little something.
We'll have some more good stuff on Sunday, I think, too. By the way, which actually leads up nicely because this Sunday we're also having Memorial Sunday, so we'll be.
Oh, that's right.
We'll be remembering those that have passed away from our church in this past year.
Yeah, and so that just so you know, Sunday worship is back to 8:30 and 11.
8:30 and 11. Yep.
And you are more than welcome to come and experience what happens here because got church? Get church. Find it right here at Canonsburg UP Church. We are welcoming you every day to grow in Jesus Christ. Come join us.
Good work.
Thanks.
Little something on the piano?
Sure, as soon as I cough.
Okay. All right. You cough.
Take the microphone off.
Well, let's take the microphone off. No coughing on camera there, Kenton. And look at that. We still have 2 people gathering live.
say, God is great. And just as gentle as I made the end of that song, and God is great with that gentleness. He's a wonderful God we serve. See you next week.